can Solana come for Ethereum's market cap? I think Solana has been a very fascinating early mover in terms of being a highly scalable layer one blockchain. But fading Ethereum at this point, I don't think is a great move either. They'll coexist. There will be blockchains that do different things.
This content is brought to you by Uphold, which is a great crypto platform that I've been using since 2018. Uphold has all the top cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and all the altcoins. In fact, they have 260 plus cryptocurrencies on their platform. You can also trade precious metals, stable coins, and 37 fiat currencies. In addition, they are available in over 150 countries. And this platform is fully reserved. They do audits, so you can trust that your funds are safe, no commingling, no lending out your funds. If you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. With me today is Lark Davis. Many of you may recognize Lark. He has his own YouTube channel, which has over 486,000 subscribers. Lark is also the founder of a weekly crypto newsletter titled Wealth Mastery. Lark, great to have you on.
Excited to be here. Happy to chat to you, Tony.
Lark, so as I mentioned before the recording, I've watched your channel over the years. Certainly appreciate your content around crypto. So I got a lot of questions for you, but let's start with where you from, man, and how did you become a YouTuber?
So I live in New Zealand. I grew up in the States, but live in New Zealand. I moved here when I was quite young, a teenager, so I still have an American-ish accent. It's slipping a bit over the years, been here a while. But yeah, crypto, man, it's just been this wild ride. I first heard about crypto in 2012, about Bitcoin in 2012. And I was like, that sounds super cool and super interesting. But, it was university times. I needed beer money that weekend. What are you going to do? It's an expensive weekend. Fast forward 2017. I'm like, this is the time. I have to go in. I have to fully commit myself to this because this asset class is insane. You start learning about it. You take the orange pill. You start buying Bitcoin. Then, of course, you get seduced by all the altcoins out there. And I started buying different altcoins. I think XRP was actually my first altcoin that I ever bought.
Oh,
and I
wow.
don't hold any XRP these days, but I think it's the first one I bought. But around the same time, I bought Digibyte and I also bought NEM. Now, XRP, people still know the name. Digibyte and NEM, not so much. That kind of tells you a bit about the crypto space. But then I started creating content around it. And some of that was being posted over on a now disused social media platform that's called Steam back in the day.
Oh,
It's a crypto platform.
I remember that.
Back in the day. Yeah, that's an old one. You're showing your age in crypto if you remember that.
Yeah.
And then I started posting on YouTube and stuff and just documenting my journey, sharing things as I learned them. And you get really when you start making 2 or 3 videos a day at the time, as I was doing back in 2017, things are pretty crazy. You get on that learning curve real fast. You start learning a lot real fast. And it was a wild journey. It was a wild journey of content creation. And that was, 2 bear markets ago now. Seems like a while ago. But I quit my day job in November of 2017, just before the bear market hit, of course, right before the market top. And it was a wild time to do it. But I don't have any regrets. It's been an absolute, honor to make the kind of content that I do and to be able to have the conversations with people that I have on an asset class that I'm just super excited about and love being a part of.
That's awesome. And I certainly share very similar journey stories, with you. I got in 2016, but in 2017, I started my channel. I was doing part-time, right? Just for fun. It obviously took off. But very much like you, navigating the waters, trying to learn more about this asset class, trying to make money off of it, of course. So you mentioned that your first encounter was in 2012. How did that come about? Was it a friend told you? Did you read on a forum? What was your first encounter with Bitcoin?
So I was a teaching assistant at the University of Auckland, and we were just sitting around, shooting the shit, having a good time in the tutor's office, and somebody started talking about Bitcoin, and we all started, we had seen something a little bit about it in the news and stuff like that. And we all started talking about what is it do? And I was like, oh man, that's really interesting because we were all politics tutors. So we were very much into central banks, monetary policy, all this kind of stuff. And I don't think anybody bought Bitcoin at that time, but we were all interested in the conversation. This was a hype period for Bitcoin back then. Now I know, looking back at the charts and understand what was actually going on at that time. It was a hype period when I was starting to get a bit of media attention. None of us bought. Had I bought, I would have been buying at the time around a relative high price. Of course, now, had I held, would be very much higher, of course. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of the initial thought. And I kept an eye on Bitcoin from that time on. I didn't buy for a few years, but I just kind of kept it there. I had a Forex app that I used for, keeping an eye on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Russian ruble, whatever, and always had a Bitcoin there. I always kept an eye on what's Bitcoin doing. And, if I saw Bitcoin news, I'd kind of hop in and see what people are saying, what the news is saying about Bitcoin, which is not a great source in hindsight for what's going on with Bitcoin. But still, I kept it on my radar, but I didn't pull the trigger until 2017.
Oh, wow. So for newcomers who are entering the crypto space, what advice would you give them, given that you've been here for multiple bull market cycles? You probably made some mistakes. I've made some mistakes, right? Lost money, but I've made money. What would you tell those people? And I know that's putting you on the spot a bit. Let's say the top three things.
Top three things is definitely put the time in, because if you're just going to be lazy, you're not going to do very well in the market, right? If you're just waiting on some social media person or whatever to tell you what to buy, like, you're probably not going to do super well, because by the time whatever you're buying is super hyped on social media, it's often starting to get late in the game for that. You missed the best possible entry. So you got to get in, you got to do the research, you got to start finding alpha. There are social media accounts to follow. They're going to tell you about stuff early. There are Telegram groups you can get in. They're going to tell you about stuff early, Discord groups, stuff like that. So there are places to find that early alpha, but you got to put the work in. Much like farming airdrops, I keep talking about airdrops because, especially for small accounts, it's one of the best ways that you can actually get some money quickly, because you can literally get airdrops that are worth sometimes tens of thousands of dollars for doing very, very little, which
Right.
is wild, which is wild. And if you have a smaller account, that's a really good way to juice up your account. No guarantees in airdrop farming, but that's a great place to do it. But again, you have to put the work in, right? So that's one. Put in the damn work, do your research, take action on chain,
Hmm.
and get involved. The second, of course, is to take profits at some point. And this is one of the biggest things that screw people up. See, a lot of people are good at buying crypto. It's easy. The buying part's easy. You FOMO in, you buy something. Great. Of
Right.
course, buying is also a bit tricky, because unfortunately, a lot of people buy at the wrong time. You have to buy low and then sell high. And I know, depending on when you're listening to this conversation, if you're listening to this conversation in 18 months' time, 12 months' time, you might be too late. You might be buying at the top, and you're going to have a very hard time of it. And I know the FOMO's there, and you're probably going to do it anyway, and you're going to learn the lessons. You'll be the bag holders of 2026, 2027. I mean, that's just how it works in these markets. But the truth is, if you're listening to this at the time of publishing, we're still very early in the cycle. And I know there's been a big rally recently, and I know prices have moved a lot recently. But if this cycle pumps in a way that a lot of us think we're going to, you're still getting in early. So buy low, sell high, but you have to sell, because a lot of people are pretty good at actually getting the good entry, but a lot of people are bad at getting out. So in the same way you dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out. Because here's the truth. If you do well in this market, you might actually get a multi-million-dollar portfolio. Some people are going to go from a $10,000 invested to having $1 million or $2 million, and it screws your head up.
Yeah.
It's hard to manage. The greed screws you up, and you will round trip that entire damn bag. A lot of people do it every cycle. You get your entry perfect, your paper gains go to millions, you round trip it back down to 10K. Don't do it. Sell at some point, and you can ladder out. Take 5% off, 10% off here and there. It reduces the position, reduces the stress, reduces the anxiety around having this giant position. Oh my gosh, what if it doubles tomorrow? You know what? I'm going to take 5% out today. If it doubles tomorrow, great, but at least I paid myself today.
Exactly. Great advice, man. And I've certainly learned those lessons. Take profits, because I've watched the bull market come and go, and I'm like, damn, I should have took more profits.
Yeah.
You got to take them and don't be too greedy, man. Sometimes we have this number in our mind, right? Oh, I want to get to this number, but we just don't know what the top is sometimes, and we just don't know what could happen. Black swan events, much more. You got to take profits off the table.
If I can just say one thing to follow up on that, one of the number, getting that number in your mind screws your head up. And look,
Yeah.
last market cycle, I did pretty well taking profits. I took a lot of profits. I should have just sold all my altcoin bags in hindsight, but I wanted to keep altcoin exposure for different altcoins. And so I took a lot of profits on them. Could have taken more profits on altcoins. This cycle, I'm going to take all my profits on altcoins. I'm only going to keep Bitcoin at the end of this cycle. But more so than getting attached to a number, this is what's dangerous. Numbers are dangerous, especially big round numbers are even more dangerous.
Oh
I
yeah.
was in the 100K Bitcoin club last cycle, right? I really thought we were going to go 100K Bitcoin, and I ignored all the warning signs. The warning signs that I know. And one of the best ways to indicate a market is topping out and it's time to start taking profits. Again, you don't have to go 100%. A lot of people make the mistake. You have to go 100% in, 100% out. You can just start laddering out. Take
Right.
5% every week, 10% every week. And you're probably still going to have some coins left when the market really falls apart, but you will have made so much money, you're not going to care that those bags go down 90% because you've already cashed out for huge sums of money. But watch for stuff like all the social sentiment, because that's where the
Mm.
extreme greed is indicated. Watch for, of course, the Bitcoin fear and greed indicator to be over 90, for example. Monthly RSI up over 80 or 90 for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Great indicator. Markets are way overheated. Doesn't happen very often. It's a great indicator for the top. The pie chart indicator, we're talking technicals here, pie chart indicator, if that flips, watch out because historically that's done pretty well at timing Bitcoin tops. Altcoins usually peak a few weeks later. But the social sentiment is where it's really at. And this is hard to gauge, but Coinbase app at number one, extreme greed. People posting pictures of Rolex watches and brand new cars they just bought, danger sign. Getting that friend who you haven't talked to in 15 years from university calling you up because he saw you post about Bitcoin some time back saying, hey, how do I buy dog coins?
Yeah.
Red flags, run away, start taking profits.
Oh yeah. If your grandma, the Uber driver as well, they're telling you about crypto. Big red
Yep,
flag.
that's right. When your grandma's buying dog coins, get out, guys.
Yeah. So Lark, if you don't mind me asking, what are your top five coins that you're bullish on for this upcoming bull cycle?
Great question. Look, I'm looking at particularly the strength in the market right now. What's been strong? What has been doing well? And it's tough to talk about those coins, some of these coins right now, because some of them have gone on such big runs recently. Things like Avalanche,
Oh yeah.
things like Injective. If we want to talk about things that maybe are up and coming or don't have quite such big market caps, something that I really like, Trader Joe.
Mm.
That's the decentralized exchange on the Avalanche blockchain, also on Arbitrum stuff. They pay out real yield in USDC. Very cool. I like Beam. Now, Beam's gone on a big run recently too. Perhaps right now, not the best time to be trying to get a position on that. But
Sure.
I really like what they're doing. Avalanche Subnet, big gaming studio, well funded, doing good things. Doing good things. And there's a lot of great DeFi stuff going out there too. Obviously, Chainlink, I think, is a very mispriced asset. This is the cornerstone of all DeFi and CCIP. This is their new big upgrade that's basically going to take cross-chain and cross-institution asset swaps to the absolute next level. Like we're talking, bringing big organizations, giant banks, the Fed, all this kind of stuff. I mean, crazy, but bringing those kind of people on board. And Chainlink's only at $14. It's hard to understand sometimes all this technical stuff that Chainlink does. I feel like they just need to change their logo to a dog picture, and people will be much more comfortable with buying Chainlink.
Right.
So that's three. That's three. Look, I think that Polkadot should not be ignored either. Polkadot 2.0 is coming. Again, I'm a big fan of Avalanche, Injective, stuff like that, but Polkadot 2.0 is coming. That I think still has a great opportunity moving forward as the Polkadot 2.0 narrative starts to take off. People aren't paying attention to it right now. And again, you want to try to find where is attention not overly saturated yet, because that tends to be where more financial opportunity is. If you're chasing the new big thing, and again, invest in strength. Sometimes people aren't talking about stuff because it's done. Something like
Sure.
Polkadot, for example, 2.0 will come. There will be the hype cycle again for it. Will it be as big of a hype cycle as Solana? I don't know. It remains to be seen. So that would be number four. And number five here, let's say it will be Illuvium, because I love that game. I think it looks beautiful. That's a gaming coin. Went on a nice run recently, retracing a bit at the moment post release of their game, as we so often see, buy the room or sell the news. You guys know how it works, but beautiful looking game. If they can catalyze their early success into long-term success, I think it's got a great potential for this market cycle.
Hi, everyone. Pardon the interruption. I'm Tony Edward, the founder and host of the Thinking Crypto podcast. I have a huge favor to ask you. If you haven't subscribed as yet on YouTube or the podcast platforms, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, hit the notification bell on the YouTube platform. And on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast. It allows me to bring great quality content to you. Thank you for your support, and I'll let you get back to the content. Speaking of gaming, we've seen that in different bull markets, there have been certain narratives. I'm not saying that's the only factor that drives price and people jumping in, but they do play a factor. We saw DeFi summer in the last bull market. Do you believe gaming, AI, and obviously we have the ETF narrative around Bitcoin, but gaming and AI would be something to pay attention to?
100%. Look, there's lots of narratives. And one of the things that can really trip people up is trying to chase every narrative. Like there's so many narratives I don't even really pay a lot of attention to just because for psychologically, I can't deal with it. It's too much stuff. There's too much things going. You can't keep up to date with all this stuff.
Right.
Just like in the stock market, you don't have to invest in every single company. You don't have to invest in every single crypto. Now, my big focus is on blockchains, decentralized finance, and gaming. Those are some of my biggest areas of investment. I dabble with a few other things. I've got a metaverse coin, I've got an AI coin, whatever, but there's a lot of stuff out there. Decentralized physical infrastructure networks, DePIN, very big, very interesting. AI coins, very big, very interesting. But one thing I would say is that when you're looking at these as an investor, be careful of sort of vaporware stuff, or not even necessarily vaporware, but things that have completely pointless tokens, because there's quite a few of those out there. Just because it has AI in the name or whatever else doesn't necessarily mean it's a good value play. Now, it might pump on hype because it's crypto, and hype and narrative can drive, that's the narrative in itself. Like with meme coins, what do meme coins do? The price goes up. That's what meme coins do, so just keep that in mind. But I think AI in crypto are a great fit. AI, crypto and gaming are a great fit as well. And that's why we're seeing so much attention coming into these different ecosystems and these different niches. But AI in particular, it's an interesting one. There's some really great AI exposure there, and some of it's just a bit of hype. So be careful that you don't get involved in something that's just hype. Really think about these things when go and try to use the apps for some of this stuff sometimes and think like, hey, wait a second. I can just go use Chat GPT, or I can go and connect my MetaMask, buy some Ethereum, buy some tokens, go to this platform, deposit the tokens. Like, is that really the most logic? Does that deserve a multi-billion-dollar market cap or whatever in those sort of situations? It's something to think about, right?
Right.
Gaming as well. Gaming's got to be a fluid situation. It's got to be something that it's easier for people to do. And ideally, you abstract away a lot of the crypto stuff for the gaming. It's there, it's in the background, there's tokens, there's NFTs, all that stuff, but you don't want to have people have to go through these sort of arduous processes and pay high on-chain fees and all that stuff. It drives people away. And of course, it can't just be with gaming. One of my things, just being a Web3 game is not enough. It's actually got to be a good game.
Yeah.
And there are some beautiful games that are up and coming. Off the Grid is one that looks like crazily good. I'm an investor. I'm an investor most of the stuff. I'm a private still investor in Off the Grid, by the way. And of course, those 5 coins I mentioned, top coins, also investor in those, just so everyone can be clear. But something like Off the Grid looks incredible. Like we have some really beautiful games that are coming out. And if you've been watching the gaming space for a few years, there's been a lot of just not very nice looking games or terrible tokenomics. And so we're starting to see a new generation of crypto gaming coming out with better tokenomics and like games that are actually going to get people to play them, not because they're Web3 games, but because they're good games that happen to have Web3 elements in them. And that is where we're going to see big adoption happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking into some of these gaming projects as well. And to your point, it has to be quality. It has to be a good looking game and that is appealing to users. Now I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here. We got Bitcoin. There's a race for the Bitcoin spot ETF here in the United States. Bitcoin, of course, has rallied this year significantly. What is your short-term outlook and long-term outlook? And do you have, not financial advice, but do you have a price prediction for all-time high?
Sure. So this is on the caveat that we get the Bitcoin ETF approved in January. If we don't get an approval in January, I still believe it's coming. But the only reason that we would have a denial in January would be that they haven't got everything they want yet in all the amendments and whatnot. And that gets pushed out to March, would be my thought. So everything I say from here on out is predicated on the idea that we're going to get a January approval. If we get a January approval, we could see actually almost a triple top coming in for Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to get to a necessarily new all-time high. And I don't mean triple top in the sense that it's going to, then go down 90% or something like that. But I mean, just we're going to see that sort of area around 60 to 69K probably get retested right around the approval time for a Bitcoin ETF product. Day one of trading, we could see a short sell the news. That might not last very long, might be a week, might be a few weeks. But the reality is that on day one, tens of billions of dollars are not going to show up.
Right.
The approval and the listing of these products is an extremely bullish event. But if you look at gold, there's an interesting parallel because back in 2004, gold got ETF products. And there was a rally in anticipation of that. Everybody knew it was coming. Markets rallied in anticipation of that for gold. Even back then, it was a $2.5 trillion asset, so it was a big rally. Once the ETFs got approved, there was about a 6-month correction. Well, it went down 10 to 15%. Not as dramatic as crypto volatility, obviously. And then it went on a 400% rally over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Because then it actually started having the real impact because real liquidity started entering the market. Pension funds and retirements and all this kind of stuff, they started buying gold ETF products. And that created real spot demand for gold. Then people not buying ETF products, but also looking at gold as an investment class, started buying gold coins and gold bars and all this stuff. In the same way, people are going to buy Bitcoin ETFs, but other people are also going to buy spot Bitcoin and put it in their hardware wallets.
Yep.
It drives liquidity into the market. This is a once-in-a-generation liquidity event, by the way. For those of you who don't understand what's going on with this Bitcoin ETF, this is a once-in-a-market liquidity event. What's happening now is never going to repeat. We are literally about to see the biggest liquidity event that Bitcoin has ever saw. So with that in mind, I think we could see 150K next year, not immediately after the ETF approval. It's going to take time, probably after the halving later next year, as everything starts to kind of work together. We have a lot of catalysts coming up next year, including interest rate cuts and all that sort of stuff. So we have a very interesting stage set for that possible rally. Now, where's the peak price at for the cycle? Again, we don't want to get attached to numbers. We want to get more focused on market conditions, because getting yourself attached to a number can be a dangerous thing, especially because psychologically we then want to adjust that number when our number gets hit. Been there, done that, be careful. But I think we could, on the more bullish end, see potentially 250K in like early 2025. Now that number may not happen, and that may just be a peak number, a blow off top kind of number. And you have to keep in mind that when we see these blow off tops, you have a very, very short window for selling that, and almost no one's going to perfectly sell that top, right? If we get to such a blow off top, then probably something like 175 to 200K in that area is going to be where most people who do sell, not at that short blow off peak. That would be my idea. But 150 to 180K is a number that I've been talking about even before the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF came into play. And now that we have that in play, it could just be a wild card in terms of creating liquidity spikes that could see a price go as high as maybe 250K, but for a very short amount of time.
Now, what do you think about Solana? Because Solana has been on a tear. I mean, just crazy. I think today it passed XRP on the market cap list. I'm swing trading Solana, but I'm still cautiously optimistic because of all the FTX Sam Bankman-Fried people looking to dump those SOL tokens. So I know there's a lot of narratives about VCs looking to dump their tokens, but some are saying, hey, this is coming after Ethereum. I don't think so. What are your thoughts on that?
I think when it comes to VCs and stuff selling their tokens, let them distribute. That's what it's all about. Let them distribute. Just in the same way Bitcoin miners sell their coins and early Bitcoiners sell their coins, let them distribute. Let them distribute. Because if somebody else thinks, well, this has got 10x potential moving forward, let them make that bet. Let them do the buying. So that's one thing. And can Solana come for Ethereum's market cap? I think Solana has been a very fascinating early mover in terms of being a highly scalable layer one blockchain. But fading Ethereum at this point, I don't think is a great move either. They'll coexist. There will be blockchains that do different things.
Right.
Solana's Fire Dancer upgrade is game changing. And I think Anatoly Yakovenko, the founder of Solana, he put it pretty well that with Fire Dancer, they're going to get to such a point that it's basically at the theoretical edge of technical capabilities, of hardware capabilities, of actual throughput capabilities at 1.2 million transactions per second. This is social media level stuff. This, you could run Facebook on Solana, for example. It's that kind of level of crazy. You could actually run multiple social media platforms that big on Solana at that point.
Oh, wow.
Crazy stuff, right? Crazy stuff. We're talking huge scalability and keeping fees at a fraction of a penny. Now, Ethereum, people are fading Ethereum right now because they're only thinking about Ethereum layer one. And I think that's a mistake. Ethereum layer one's a hot mess. Come on, man. Like, I had to pay $120 for a gas fee the other day for some bridging or something like that. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. I try not to use main Ethereum whenever I can, but there's still stuff that happens over there that you need to do.
For sure.
For the average person, though, it's completely unusable at this point. But Ethereum layer twos, now that is where we actually see them Ethereum becoming highly competitive with Solana. And that can't come soon enough. But EIP 4844 is a massive upgrade coming for Ethereum layer twos that's going to lower the gas fees for Ethereum layer twos by 10 to 100x. At 100x lowering of fees, we are cost competitive with Solana for Ethereum layer twos. But they're going to co-compete. They don't need to defeat each other. It's going to be like Apple and Samsung. Ethereum's Apple, Samsung, that's your Solana equivalent here. They're both going to exist in the marketplace. They're both going to have their loyal fans and users and people who want to go and do those. And then there's people who just don't care and they go back and forth between them. Mercenary capital goes between one chain and the other chain. But look, I did not invest any significant amount of money into Solana. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. I have a little bit of Solana I use for farming and stuff like that. But I think that realistically, fading Solana and the technological upgrades they have coming, I wouldn't do that. They've been proving themselves that they were bear market builders. They survived some of the harshest market conditions, and they've come out fighting.
Which layer twos for Ethereum are you most bullish on and think will do well?
It's a great question. Right now, Arbitrum, of course, has been the big time leader, and it's hard to beat the early first mover in that kind of space. And actually, Arbitrum came after Optimism, but still, Arbitrum has absolutely captured the money, the devs, the users, total daily transactions, all that kind of stuff. The token, though, not awesome. It doesn't really capture much value, unfortunately. It's been a very slow mover. I hope that'll change at some point. I've got a big bag. It'd be great to see it pump, but hey, we have a lot of great ones coming, and we're going to see a lot of competition for liquidity amongst these. Not all of them are going to succeed. Most of these will probably end up within 5 years having very little liquidity on them. People will still be there as there are some other dead chains, but you're probably going to see 2 or 3 Ethereum layer twos dominate 90+% between the 2 or 3 of them of market share. Who exactly those are going to be? Hard to say. Will Arbitrum keep its crown? Possibly, but we have some big competitors coming up. Starknet, that's going to be really big. So that's one to definitely keep an eye out for. I think they've already done their snapshot for the airdrop, but something to watch out for upon listing. Obviously, don't buy day one listing hype, but usually with these airdrop tokens, you find within the first week, there's usually a good entry period. Sure. Others like ZK Sync, Linea, Scroll, man, the competition between all those is going to be big, but if you want, there's still farming opportunities. Neither of those three have not done snapshots yet. So they are still farmable.
What do you think about Polygon? That had a lot of adoption with different brands, and a Matic token, of course. Are you bullish on that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Matic. This is one of my biggest winners in the last market cycle. Made a truckload of money on it, sold it all. But I still have a soft spot in my heart for it. And it's one of those, I always say about coins that I've sold like Matic. Like, I pay attention to it. I'm a fan of the ecosystem. I love coins that have made me money. That's great. And I keep an eye on what they're doing. And I think that Polygon, without a doubt, has been a bear market winner. Now, they haven't got the price hype that Solana and Avalanche have had. But Polygon, they had 161 million inscriptions or something put on chain the other day, and they didn't have fees go up to $40. They kept their fees low. That's a feat. Avalanche cannot say that. Avalanche fees have gone insane with the inscriptions craze. So Polygon would not be one to fade. Huge partnerships, huge gaming partnerships, huge real world partnerships. I feel like they just haven't had their moment yet in this new market cycle, but they probably will at some point, would be my guess.
So I got to ask you about XRP.
Let's do it.
Because I know you at the beginning you said your first altcoin that you bought was XRP. Surprisingly, XRP held up in the top 10 despite that lawsuit against Ripple. And its rally, if you want to call it that, or whatever bullish momentum it had in the last cycle, got cut short because of that lawsuit. Ripple seemingly has taken a good amount of victory here. The SEC did get a victory in that case, in the ruling. Do you think XRP might perform well, given that it's still in the top 10, it has the narrative that it has the clarity? What do you think?
100%. 100%. I think XRP has potential to perform quite well in this market cycle. And it's funny, I actually made a video shortly after the lawsuit came out saying don't buy XRP. And I was just savaged beyond belief by the XRP community for it. But I was right, because the thesis was this lawsuit is going to dampen any sort of bull run narrative that XRP has. Big money's going to stay away. It's only going to be retail investors to come in and, ape in XRP. The big guys are going to wait until the court case plays out, and they did. Now, I put my hat off to Ripple Labs, by the way. I have had criticisms of XRP and stuff in the past, but I got to say they fought the good fight. They won. So congratulations. That was a win for the entire industry. And I love that. So thank them for that. And I think, of course, it does have nice potential moving forward. But one thing I think about with XRP, obviously they have huge partners, huge banking partners. The list goes on. Like when you actually look at the people they're working with, it's huge. And I understand why that gets a lot of people excited. But this is 2023 and soon to be 2024. The competition or the use case that XRP used to have a real sort of niche corner on has expanded out so much. Now you can send stablecoin transactions anywhere in the world for a fraction of a penny, swap it across a decentralized exchange with deep liquidity. Do we need XRP in that situation? What about Chainlink CCIP and cross-chain asset transfers? You can just transfer one from the other to the other, remove the clearinghouses, remove the middleman, so to speak, right? So technology in the middle. So XRP, definitely not one to fade. I'm still not going to buy it, but I think that it does have potential for the cycle without a doubt. And I'm sure that the incredibly well-funded Ripple Labs will come out with all kinds of new and exciting features and partnerships to make themselves continue to be very competitive in the market. Those would be my thoughts about what they need to do. They need to make sure they're keeping highly competitive with all this new stuff coming out.
No, that's a great point about the competition. And to your point of Chainlink, which I'm super bullish on. I traded Chainlink in 2020. I'm bullish on it this cycle, but they've got a great solution. And there's tons of stable coins and USDC bridging on different chains, doing a lot of different things. So the competition, to your point, is heating up. So we'll see if they can come out with something game changing that helps change the narrative, right? And gives them an edge. Now, speaking, I know you're in New Zealand, so you're not necessarily dealing with all the nonsense we're dealing with here in the States with Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, man, yeah.
But I would still love to get your thoughts, because the US is the largest capital market. And, they're clearly trying to kill crypto startups because in the parallel, BlackRock and Wall Street are filing for ETFs, doing things with tokenization. What are your thoughts on what's been going on with Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren?
It's a mess. The US regulators do such a strong disservice to Americans because they're not protecting you from anything. They're saying, well, you can't invest in IPO or, pre-IPO stocks. You can't invest in token sales. So much freedom, right? So much freedom, so much freedom. You can't trade on leverage, right? You can't use all these different leverage exchanges for trading your crypto. You can't get airdrops a lot of times in America because companies are so afraid that if they give an American an airdrop, the SEC is going to come after them because God forbid you give an American a few $1,000s of an airdrop coin. It's very problematic. Is that protecting investors? No. And of course, the SEC has been a very bad actor. They've gone after Coinbase, the most squeaky clean Boy Scout exchange out there. They went after Coinbase? You're kidding me. And they went after Kraken, which is like Coinbase's little cousin, like it's just like these are some of the, regulatory compliant exchanges out there. And they cozied up to FTX. They completely looked the other way for all the fraud that went on in the industry. Who are they protecting? Nobody. They're protecting Wall Street interests and they're helping Wall Street. And of course, this is what Elizabeth Warren's doing now. It's funny because she used to have this anti-banking rhetoric, but all she's been doing is the bidding of the banks, the bidding of Wall Street. And that's all the SEC. Keep in mind, Gary Gensler is Goldman Sachs alumni. He is part of the dirty swamp revolving door that is Washington, D.C. When he's done being the chief at the SEC, he goes back to Goldman Sachs. He gives $500,000 speeches. He gets his payout. This is how it worked. It's corruption at the highest level. And that's why BlackRock's going to get a spot Bitcoin ETF, because this is how the game is played. They're going to make sure that everything is set for U.S. financial institutions to capture as much of the market as they can with these ETF products, and for them to be the ones collecting the fees, for them to be the ones controlling and manipulating the price. It's a dirty game. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I'm hoping Congress can act and pass some regulations. I don't know if a change of the president here in the United States will lead to something better. I don't know, but it's really crazy what's happening. But I think, like people have been saying, we're in the then they fight you phase, but then you win, right? As the saying goes. What are your thoughts on NFTs? Do you think we see a rebound in this bull market? And maybe broader use cases around NFTs as well?
100% NFTs are coming back because there's one thing that will never change, which is human greed. And that'll come back and it'll ape into NFTs. Look, I love NFTs, big fan. I've never been an NFT flipper or investor, so to speak. I just bought NFTs that I kind of liked. Yeah, I don't have any crypto punks or anything like that, but I do have a few NFTs that I quite enjoy and I like. And I absolutely think they're coming back. NFTs will come back in a big way. And we'll see profile collections and stuff like this. Yeah, those will take off again, sure. 99% of what was out last cycle will never come back and will stay at zero. Some of the bigger collections, they'll see a new run, they'll see new high prices, but probably not most of them. Some of them may never get back to previous highs, but still have a decent run. So new collections will probably be all the rage. And of course, we're going to continue to see NFT technology, because the NFT technology, beyond talking about NFTs as like an investment, the NFT technology is awesome. I love it. The idea of digital verifiable collectibles. See, I grew up playing Magic the Gathering. I grew up playing Star Wars collectible card games, stuff like this. So when I looked at NFTs, like, oh, trading cards in the blockchain, except it's better because unlike your Black Lotus Magic the Gathering card, it's not going to burn in a fire. It's not going to get water damage. Your baby's not going to eat it. It's going to be on the blockchain. And what we've seen with stuff like Black Lotus Magic the Gathering cards, they're getting counterfeited left, right, and center because they're worth $100,000 a piece or whatever. So people are counterfeiting them. So you can't even buy one secondhand anymore without thinking, well, is this going to be a counterfeit thing that's worth nothing? It gets proven in 5 years, actually, this is a counterfeit. It's all very problematic stuff. So with the blockchain, now you can have that same card. You have provenance, you have provable history of what tournaments it was played in, all this kind of stuff. You have provable rarity. We don't know how many Black Lotus cards were produced. How many could still be somebody's got a garage full of them somewhere and they bring them out in the market and drop the prices. We don't know that, right? So this is a very, very clear use case for NFT technology. I think we're going to see brands continue to adopt NFT technology, influencers continue to adopt NFT technology. It's going to continue to be big. Ticketing's a huge use case for NFT tech because look, and it's quite funny in crypto because all the same ideas keep coming around. I remember talking back in 2017, 2018 to a company that was doing NFT ticketing way before anybody was talking about NFTs or the ticketing use case. Huge use case, huge potential, too early, wrong time. Right idea, wrong time. Now I think we're seeing the right time for that kind of technology to come through and actually be usable for people. So yeah, NFTs are huge, but just keep in mind NFTs as an investment, not always what you're going to want it to be.
Yeah, I've been telling people about that. And one of the things I mentioned is, look for real companies and brands who are building NFTs, but which blockchains are they building on? And are you holding
Hmm.
said native tokens, right? Whether it be Polygon or
Hmm.
whatever it is. So that's how you should look at it. Now, don't get me wrong, you want to trade NFTs, go for it, but it's very risky.
Absolutely. Just because the liquidity is so low and it's a mess. It's a mess out there. So if you're trading NFTs, you're basic. It's right out there with meme coins at sort of the extreme end of the risk spectrum, the cryptocurrency market. And it's already a risky market. And it's actually its own entire skill set. I don't screw with trying to flip NFTs because that's what you have. That has to be your game. That has to be
Right.
what you do. You go all in on trying to find the mints, get on the white lists, snipe early collections, get in the Discord. I don't have time for that, man. Come on. But if you do, if that's your thing, great.
Um, cool. I got some wrap up questions here for you, but wanted to ask you about your newsletter. Can you tell us a bit about that and what folks can expect from that?
Oh, absolutely. So the Wealth Mastery newsletter this is something I've been working on for years. We launched it back in 2020, and it has just grown to be such an incredible newsletter. When we started off, it was just very, very quite basic. A lot of value add. It's always had a lot of value add. But now it's just we've gone absolutely insane. We have a whole team of writers. There's got 7 writers that are writing every week, plus myself. So we talk about portfolio updates, what we're farming. We talk about airdrops, technical analysis, DeFi tutorials, a deep dive altcoin reports. Like our altcoin report guy, he's been around the space for a long time and he's seen so much BS. It's crazy. So he calls it like it is every time that he sees it. And look, he's not always 100% right and stuff, but usually he is. And usually time proves him right on some of his more contrarian takes on some of these blockchains we see coming out, because sometimes you just got to take off the rose tinted glasses and call it for what it is, right? So yeah, this is every week. We're producing huge amounts of alpha for readers. So check it out if you're not signed up yet. It's an absolute great read.
Awesome. Well, folks, links will be in the description for you to go check that out. All right, Lark, if you could create your own metaverse, what would the theme be about?
Mm, sci-fi, definitely sci-fi. Something like Blade Runner or even like Dead Space, but maybe not all the terrifying monster zombies everywhere. Maybe more like Blade Runner.
Yeah, that would be mine too. Anything space related or future, and I love Blade Runner, so I wouldn't mind being in that world.
Nice.
Rapid fire questions. Favorite food,
Pizza, definitely pizza.
favorite musician or band,
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. Let's say all-time favorites, YouTube. YouTube.
you too. Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite movie,
Last of the Mohicans.
favorite book.
Lord of the Rings.
You've read all of them.
I've read Lord of the Rings at least 10 times, the entire trilogy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you're not doing anything crypto related, what are you doing for fun as a hobby?
Uh, trying to, I got 2 kids, so, there's not a lot of time for hobbies per se, but when I do have free time, it's where I go out for every day for about an hour-long walk with my wife just to talk about the day and enjoy ourselves. And I try to work out at least for a half hour every day. Doesn't always happen, but five days a week we get to at least.
Right.
And I try to do a bit of language learning. So I speak French and Spanish, which I have not been being able to have much time for recently, but I also speak Russian, and I've been really trying to prioritize that because my mother-in-law doesn't speak English. So, Russian's kind of more necessary than the other 2 languages. So big language nerd, but hasn't had a lot of time for nerding out on it recently. But when I have a little more time in the future, that would definitely be where some more time goes.
Cool. Lark, pleasure chatting with you. Appreciate your insights, and everybody check out the newsletter and the YouTube channel as well. But thank you so much for joining me.
Tony, thanks for having me. It's been a great chat, man.